My family had a small get-together at my house. One of my wife's friends was over. She is unmarried. I think she is 45 to 47. We aren't too close to her since she lives pretty far away. She was over our house and she started complimenting my son. My son is 19. It starts off innocent, but as time goes on it gets more and more crossing the line. When we were out on my deck, she starts telling my son to take his shirt off. What's the point of going to the gym if no one will see it? My son is visibly uncomfortable and tries to shut her down. She repeatedly is asking and is getting more aggressive with it. I interject and I am like, "Hey Kathy, I think you are a bit too old and ugly for my son." This got her upset really quickly, and she excuses herself to the bathroom and starts crying. My wife goes to comfort her, and then later she leaves. At the end of it, my wife is super angry with me for saying that I should have said, "Hey Kathy, looks like you had too much to drink or something else." I told my wife that Kathy, by the way this is not her real name, works a corporate job, she has had training on this and that she knows better. And our son was uncomfortable. He is 18 plus, but he doesn't know how to deal with an adult, let alone someone saying that in our house. I told my wife flat out that if I was to invite a guy friend and he was to ask to see our daughter in a bikini, my wife would have called the police. She says it's different. I tell her that I was way kinder to Kathy than I would have been had a guy said something like that to our daughter. And I told my wife that Kathy needs to apologize to my son before she can ever come into our house again. Overall, I think I was fair. If Kathy just said it once and I said that, I think I would be the asshole, but the fact she kept repeating it, that's why I said it. And I wanted her to get the message that yes, I am upset, that's why I included the ugly part.
I'm gonna go against the grain here with Esh, and I'll tell you why. Calling out Kathy's behavior was absolutely the right thing to do. It set an example for your children, showed your son that you had his back, and all kinds of good stuff like that. But the problem wasn't Kathy's level of attractiveness. The problem was that she was sexually harassing your son in his own home, no less, irrespective of her appearance. You called Kathy out and protected your son, but, if anything, you've perpetuated the double standard being discussed in the comments. The problem isn't that an unattractive woman was hitting on your son, it's that it was flat-out sexual harassment. And NBSP, by making it an issue about her appearance. You've completely sidestepped teaching your son a valuable lesson. His discomfort alone is enough reason to assert himself or seek help from you in shutting this stuff down in your own home. He was wronged, you've just completely missed giving him the words to understand and explain exactly how. Instead of calling Kathy old and ugly, you could have called her behavior out as unwelcome and predatory. Your son needs to know that even if a young, attractive woman repeatedly made unwelcome advances towards him, it would still be just as wrong. Otherwise you're accidentally perpetuating the idea that, if it was a young and attractive woman, it would be welcome no matter what, because, implicitly, men always want sex from anyone attractive enough. That is antiquated and damaging bullshit. It also gives Kathy no reason to assess her behavior, but I won't really count that since teaching her not to be a predator shouldn't be your job.
I'm going to go with NTA. It would probably have been better to say sternly, "Kathy, that's enough. Stop it or leave my house," and leaving her appearance out of it. However, your comments were in the context of her sexually harassing your barely legal child who is less than half her age, and I'm having a hard time sustaining any outrage because you were a little snarky slapping down her exploitive and inappropriate behavior. Your wife is wrong. It is not better because she is a woman and your son is a man. Sexual harassment and preying on the fact that younger people often don't have experience shutting down inappropriate advances, particularly from someone connected to their parents or in some authority or authority-adjacent position, is always wrong. The gender of the perpetrator and victim are irrelevant, and if she has a tendency to behave in a sexually inappropriate and aggressive manner when drinking, then she should never drink.
I really want to say Esh. I don't think that saying, "Hey Kathy, you're old and ugly lol," is the best way to about this. What would you have said if she was 30 years old and beautiful? A better way of handling it would be to say something like, "Kathy, your behavior is crossing a line and needs to stop immediately. If you don't stop, then you will need to leave." A firm statement like that will get the point across just as well, without hurting anyone, and shows your son how to handle conflict like an adult.
Esh, accept the son. Your friend for sexually harassing your son. You for bringing her age and appearance into the picture, and your wife for saying, "It's different, because it's your son and not your daughter."
NTA. Double standard no more. I wouldn't let her around my boy anymore. I would be livid if a husband's friend was telling my daughter the same type of things.
NTA She needs to learn that her behavior is unacceptable. I'm alarmed by how many people here think the word ugly is worse than actual sexual harassment. She chose to open the door to making unwelcome comments on people's bodies, and she deserved to have a dose of her own medicine.
She was way out of line and was being inappropriate. You were absolutely correct to call her out. But calling her old and ugly was unnecessary and sends the wrong message to your son. Her behavior was making your son uncomfortable and would still not have been okay even if she were a smoking hot 20-year-old. So calling her old and ugly was rude, unnecessary, and just distracted from the message. Don't sexually harass my son.
Her far more than you. She's sexually harassing your son. But you a little for sending the message to your son that it's fine for a woman to do this to him as long as she's young and pretty in your estimation. The problem wasn't that she's, too, old and ugly, the problem was she was harassing him.
Kathy was sexually harassing your son. Instead of inviting her firmly to leave I would have totally kicked her out. You insulted her. Rude. Sexual harassment of anyone, by anyone is completely unacceptable. Your wife needs a reality check.